I want to get right into it because, you know, we got a good amount to get into. Man, take me back to your early years in North Philly, man, at the Raymond Rosen Projects. Tell me a little bit about that early time.
Well, it was a time that, you know, you had to actually be more aggressive than passive. And having a history in my family, mother and father had brothers that actually boxed, professional. Artie McLeod on my mother's side, Arthur McLeod, you call him Artie.
That's who brought you to the gym, right?
Yes, he brought me to Joe Frazier's gym here in Philadelphia, at Borden Glenwood. Then on my mom's side, my father's side, Arthur and Juju Hopkins and a few other cousins that did some boxing, but not to the point of a professional. They went to the amateurs and they stopped. So it was embedded in the Hopkins family on both sides.
Yeah.
I have it in my DNA.
Now, it's kind of, you know, when I do the research, it's kind of spotty. Was your father around? Was he in and out?
Yeah, he was around. My dad was around, but my mom was more of the discipline out of both. Like my father, senior, he was around. I seen my father basically every day.
Really?
But
Was he in the house?
He lived around the corner. He was in the house, and then my mom and my dad, of course, they split, but it seemed like they haven't split because he was just around the corner and called Weaver Street. We on Sharpneck Street, and that's literally a block away with a block in between called Burt Ann Street. So when you have these two or one block in between, I see my dad every day. He was very, very, like what I say, active in a different way. Means that I always seen him to be able to have some conversations with him. When my amateur short career was happening, he used to always ask me what I'm fighting, and I'll tell him, but he never show up.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things. He had his substance problems.
Okay.
Substance problems, and I understood that as I got into my early teenage years, like maybe 13, 14.
So you dabbled in the amateur boxing, but you wasn't committed.
I was committed until I started getting into the street, activities, and that's when I stopped being committed.
Well, talk to me about that, because when did you jump off the porch? When did you go from just seeing the activity outside, hearing about it, to saying, man, I want to participate?
First of all, let me answer that even further about the committed. I went all the way up to the JOs. I went all the way up to the Ohio State Fairs with Together Brothers Club. Together Brothers Club is ran by a guy named Mr. Jazz Jarrett. He works for Chrysler Gang Intervention. That was a program in Philadelphia years ago that got young youth off the streets of Philadelphia. So that part of career took me into a level where I became like respected in the neighborhood, and I became respected from my family in the neighborhood, and that's where that became something of I'm a champ right now. Back then, like I'm somebody right now, and that I guess led me to believe that I ran the neighborhood. I came the neighborhood.
Even at that age?
Even at that age.
How old were you?
I was knocking out old dudes, man. Like, when I say old dudes, if I'm 12, 13, I'm knocking out guys 17, 18, 19.
In the gym or in the streets?
No, streets, both.
Come on.
Yeah, I had more knockouts in the streets than I had in the gym. See,
Come
what
on,
you did.
man.
See, because I'm going to answer the other question, too, when you're asking me the question again.
Yeah.
My nicknames in the street wasn't the executioner and fighting. It wasn't the alien, it wasn't B-Hop, it was Heads.
Heads?
I was Heads, and my brother that was behind me, year behind me, as far as age, Michael right now would have been 59, right? I just turned 60 in January. They called me Heads, and they called him Baby Heads. He had this little short amateur career. He had the reputation of, my whole family, even my 4 sisters can throw jab, right hand, left foot right now. Right? All my sisters. Never had a problem with boyfriends.
That's right.
They never called me, they took care of themselves.
That's right.
But that is embedded in our DNA.
When did the criminal activity start taking place? How did you go from that to I want to play in the streets now?
13, 14, all the way up to young adult.
Was Pops hearing about it? Was he speaking to you about that at all, or he wasn't able to?
Well, I'm pretty sure he heard about it, but I never heard it. He never came to me and approached me with it, because that was part of the life he came up in. Before we moved uptown, North Philly than uptown. You know, I grew up around the area of Robert Hines, Bam Bam Hines, and all that stuff like that. And Philadelphia was known for fighting and known for having fighters. So it was normal, which wasn't normal, to your son is doing this, or your son took this, or your son robbed this. I never had a gun. I never had a knife. I never had a bat. You know, I strong arm, and I'm not bragging about it to the point of glorifying it, but I'm just letting you understand that I knew if I get caught strong arm compared to a gun, I know my time would be lesser. I was always thinking positive, even in a negative mind. If I run into a situation when I do get caught, or I do get told on, or I get somebody have repercussions on what happened yesterday in the future.
So the charge that you ultimately ended up going to prison for, I thought it was armed robbery. So was it strong arm robbery?
It was strong arm. It's been saying armed robbery. It's all strong robbery.
So you didn't play with guns and all that?
I never played with guns. I never played with guns or knife. I've been stabbed twice by 2 different people, but I never played with guns.
So the street life escalated, as we know that it will eventually. You know, it's only a couple ways you're gonna get out of that.
Right.
And you get sentenced to Greater State Prison at 17 years old, and you get 5 to 15 years.
Yeah.
When you heard that sentence come down, what were you thinking?
It's time now to be straight up man now. If I thought I was who I was prior to being in front of that judge, this is the time now, right? Not in actions actually, but mentally. Like even the things that I've learned over the years, Dre, I had back then, but I didn't discover it back then. My instinct said, I heard about Gritters Ford. My old heads is at Greater Ford and been there before I turned 11, 12 years old, who grew up with my father, who knew my dad when I got there. And everybody say they know this person in your family don't necessarily mean they know your family. They might not know, or they might know of your family. They might tell you that to make you feel comfortable. So there's a lot of things that I had to actually look at in a situation as the only friend I have in there is me. The only person I trust in there is me. Until otherwise, that has to be a process.
But how long did it take you, once you got to prison, to realize that this is how I gotta survive? This is the mindset. Streets is different than prison. So when did you shift your mindset to a prison mentality from a street mentality? How long did it take?
It didn't take long at all, because before I went and got my time, before the judge gives you your state time, you got county time and you got state time. You got county court means you go back and forth to court until you get state time. In Pennsylvania, anything over 12 months is considered state, right? So I was getting groomed. They groom you in the county. You go back and forth to court, that's the process. Once you get past that process, you either graduate to go to college, which is the penitentiary, y'all like that, right? Or you stay in the county and have county life, means you can have 3 11 and a half to 23s. 11 months and a half, right? It's not the 12, so they keep you in the county. So you can have county life, they call it. We come up with this name called county life. You can get 3 11 and a half to 15s 3 times, but you don't go upstate. Most people don't want to go upstate. Upstate, state prison, right? Totally different ball game, right? So I was groomed in Holmesburg on Charlesdale Avenue, closed down, still there now, look like Alcatraz. In Pennsylvania, like Alcatraz. From there, groomed to Greater Ford. Now, what do you mean grooming? You understood in Holmesburg. Anybody see this podcast anywhere else in Pennsylvania, or have some idea, or look it up, they would see how scary and how spooky and how Halloweenish it looks. So when you go to those elements, and then you wind up now getting your state time, you got your brown boots that I took home after my sentence. I still got those boots. I had those boots before my first professional fight.
A reminder.
Those brown khakis, even though you dress sharp, they remind me of the uniform, yeah. But it was more of a rust color, a dark tan color, uniform. Buttons, everybody dressed the same. So I remember the uniform, I have the boots, and that's when you know that you in the really sort of military penitentiary, that you must now understand that this is the big boys.
Yeah, you got to man up.